Hey guys, it's Ashley.
And it's Brayden.
And we're here from Utah Trikes. And today we're out at Utah Lake and we're gonna take two Catrike all roads out with motors.
With motor systems.
We've got the Bosch eCat ActiveLine system and the Bafang 750 watt system. It's two of our most popular motor systems. We're gonna take these on the road.
Let's get it.
Let's go. Video that I've been wanting to do for a long time.
Dude, I'm stoked. I'm so excited to be out here on these.
Two Trikes.
Yeah.
With two motors, two most popular motors, and I figured we got to take these out somewhere with a little bit different scenery.
Out next to Utah Lake.
Yeah.
Get some beautiful shots.
In between the mountain and Utah Lake here.
Trying to get out while weather's still rideable on these.
It's overcast. It's really cold.
Yeah.
And we have two motor systems here. We have the Class 1 Bosch ActiveLine. You have a Class 2 Bafang 750 watt.
Right, both mid-drive motors mounted to the front. They're, I mean, pretty sleek in design. You know, one of the things I hear about motors all the time is noise.
You know, that does come up a lot where, you know, people will say, well, I heard that system makes noise. The only noise that I'm hearing is just the noise of the chain. Yeah. And the rubber on the road.
How quick that rubber's spinning, man. But you just mentioned before, we got a Class 1 and a Class 2 motor system.
Yeah.
Right, the Bafang being a Class 2 750 watt throttle option, the Bosch being a Class 1 pedal assist only.
So right now, I'm on the Class 1 system, you know, that Bosch ActiveLine that's part of the Catrike eCat system. It's a 250 watt motor, limited to pedal assist only, and will only go to 20 miles an hour. In order for this system to go, it requires me to pedal.
Yep, there's no freebie power there.
Yeah.
Whereas on the Bafang, I can hit that throttle, there's no pedaling now.
That's cheating, right?
I mean, it can be, if you wanted to argue.
For most riders, that's gonna be one of the big differences.
Right.
Do you want a pedal assist system that requires you to pedal, like this Class 1, or do you want a throttle?
Right, and it's important to note, it's not just throttle, right? I've got the pedal assist I've been working this whole time. The motor's helping me pedal and put out power, but I have that throttle whenever I need it.
Right.
I can just turn it on. I always think of it as a fail-safe. You know, I don't like to start my rides and abuse the throttle the whole time, but I sure love that throttle when there's a hill I don't want to climb.
And that kind of comes down to what kind of riding do you want to do? If you want a trike that will let you get the exercise that you want, but at any point in time can be turned into a fun go-kart.
Yep.
You gotta have that throttle.
The throttle, it may be a choice to some and a requirement to others. There's a good chance we're out here, we're outside, something could go wrong. Say I'm injured on this ride. Pushing the trike back really isn't an option.
Right.
I'm gonna love that this has a throttle. You can sit on it and ride it back to the car.
And that's something that should be stated. The throttle on the Bafang system does not require any pedaling at all.
But if I don't want it to.
Yeah, so if all you want to do is press that throttle down and go, you can go. On the Bosch system here, I've got the Purion 200 display. I'm in the auto mode. Riding this trike over the past few weeks, I've found that auto mode is probably my favorite.
Yeah.
If you need the maximum amount of mileage, then that eco mode, it will give that to you.
Right.
The auto mode is terrific if you want to just level out the hills.
Yep.
Like we're climbing right now, it doesn't feel any different.
That's the beauty of the motorized trike, right? Even on the Bafang, I actually feel like I'm putting in the same amount of work uphill, downhill, straight away. Maybe not downhill, I'm just freewheeling then. It should be said, I have been in my extremes on gearing. I'm either high or low. I'm not using those middle gears at all.
I think I've been, so far today, I've been in this high gear the whole time. Usually, you really only need to shift into that lower gear when you're really climbing or if you're in one of the lower assist modes.
We also have been keeping a higher speed, and not just a little bit, pretty significant.
I hope the cameras pick this up. Right now we're going about 18 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I'm still breathing good. We're having a conversation.
There's been a couple
And-
rides where we're out filming and we're supposed to be chit-chatting and I'm huffing and puffing.
Right.
You know, I can't get over this hill. You gotta let me get to the top and then I can start talking to you again. I don't feel that way at all. I'm leisurely riding and I'm still getting a pretty decent exercise. You talked about the levels of assist from the Bosch. The Bafang has a similar kind of leveling system. But if we wanted to, we could turn these motors off. In fact, I can just turn the level of power assist to 0 on mine and off on yours. And we're just cruising.
One thing we've already tested, when the motors are off, there's really no perceptible friction or resistance.
No, I don't feel anything in my drivetrain. It is worth pointing out that I have gained 20 to 30 pounds.
Right.
You know, but come around holiday, I do that anyways.
The weight of the two systems is pretty comparable.
Uh-huh.
On these systems here, the Bosch eCat system particularly comes stock with the 400 watt hour battery. Our Bafang 750 watt system, you know, we're using UL certified battery.
Right.
That's an 800 watt hour battery. So
And
it has
kinda,
twice the capacity.
you kind of need that capacity for this motor if you do plan on using that throttle. I mean, how often are you really pushing that Bosch to its maximum?
So I was studying up on this. It turns out the average unconditioned cyclist,
Okay.
the average guy gets on his bike, he's riding his bike, he's capable of putting out between 100 and 200 watts.
Okay.
So you figure on a system like this Bosch Class 1 setup, when I put that motor into turbo, I've got
A pretty well-conditioned rider.
yeah.
Pushing you.
And you know, an athletic cyclist can put out a continual 250 to 300 watts.
Oh yeah.
So the turbo mode on this Bosch pretty much equates to me having a, you know, endurance cyclist pushing me around.
Which all leads back into that leveling the playing field. You know, trying to level that playing field between a 2-wheel bicycle and our 3-wheeled recumbent trikes.
I think it's time to switch around a little bit.
You want to switch?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
I think that'd be sweet.
All right, I'm ready for a little switcheroo here.
I'm a little sad to give off the Bafang. Well, before we get into these big noticeable differences, which I gotta say are pretty immediate. We said the Bosch was a 250 watt pedal assist.
Yeah,
The Bafang's a 750 watt. Isn't the Bafang more powerful?
that is a big difference, right?
Uh-huh.
The Bosch system, while being a 250 watt motor, I know has a peak power output, much higher power.
Right.
Probably even touching that 700 watts or so. Whereas the Bafang motor here can handle a sustained power output of that 750 watts.
Right. That peak torque output's about 50 Newton meters on this Bosch system.
Where you really notice that off the line acceleration there is pretty remarkable.
Right.
50 Newton meters of torque. Again, we're talking the equivalent power output of a conditioned cyclist.
Absolutely.
And the 750 watt Bafang has over twice that with 120 Newton meters of torque. The big difference is this, and this is, you know, everyone on the internet, the customers that call, everyone trying to decide what motor system should I get.
Right.
You know, and the big part is it comes down to that torque-based pedal sensor
Right.
versus this cadence-based.
How they actually
Yeah.
deliver that power to you.
The torque-based pedal sensor on the Bosch, in my opinion, is the best there is.
Yeah.
You know, as far as me pedaling and the system feeling like I'm the one doing the pedaling, the Bosch system is king. Like, it senses how hard you're pushing and matches that effort to a degree where, unless you're in the turbo mode,
Right.
most of the time it just feels like you're Superman.
But that's what I'm saying. If I had a blanket covering the motor and this display was missing, I wouldn't believe you if you said there was a motor on the front of it.
Right.
I just think I was pedaling really good that day.
Right.
That directly leads us to how the Bafang provides its power assistance.
That is the difference. The Bafang system here, and I should say, first of all, you know, there are new motor systems out there,
right?
Some of them with torque-based sensors. We're specifically today riding with the BBS02 750 watt system because of how popular it is. It is equipped with a cadence sensor. The way that the cadence sensor works is it's essentially a switch, and it just says, hey, if the motor senses that I'm pedaling, then turn on the assist up to the level that is set on my display.
It actually has no idea how hard you're pushing.
How hard I'm pushing, it only knows that I'm pedaling.
Right.
Having right now just switched from the Bosch there where I was using the auto, and now I'm here moving back and forth between level 1 and level 2. Does give me a feeling that's pretty close to the Bosch in terms of my pedaling effort. But you'll notice here, I keep drifting ahead of you a little bit because I'm in level 2. I might have even been in level 3 there. You know, if I drop down to level 1, now we're a little more matched in terms of speed.
You know, it's funny you say that. I had preemptively bumped the Bosch up a level in the sport. Just to keep up with you in those higher levels.
One of the things to consider, the Bosch system is very proprietary, and making any changes to the Bosch system or how it works requires special programming by a Bosch certified shop like Utah Trikes.
Right.
Whereas the Bafang system here is much looser in terms of being able to manipulate the settings. Now, it still requires a custom program.
Right.
And programming cable.
Yeah.
Special software. That software is much more freely available for, you know, a particular rider. They may like that. Now, we tend to prefer what they call the UART system because of how flexible that is to be able to program it. We have our own custom program with 9 levels that we feel mimics the torque behavior of the Bosch to a certain degree. You know, if you hover around the first 3 levels, gonna feel more like a torque-based system.
You know, and it's worth pointing out, right? You are on a more powerful motor system on the Bafang right now, and we're keeping up with each other. Now, you could outrun me if you wanted to.
Right now, we're all pedals.
Right.
And I really haven't messed around with the throttle here yet.
I'll keep up.
If I go all the way into my top level, though,
say I'm maxed here.
Now, this throttle only right now. So there you go, guys. Throttle only, and I'm doing a slight climb, and I'm hitting 26 miles an hour. So let me slow up.
She ain't even gonna slow down
for Brayden here.
I'm glad we did that. I could actually feel. We said this motor tops out about 20. I danced that line of 20. It relies then on my gearing, and my gearing's topped, and that was it.
You know what happens when you hit that top end? On the Bosch system, again, because they are proprietary and they're much more locked down, when you hit that 20 miles an hour, the assist cuts out. I commented before on another video, it's not abrupt. It doesn't just feel like all of a sudden the motor shuts off, but you can definitely sense.
I'm no longer Superman.
Yeah, it's no longer helping me, right?
It isn't abrupt at all. I don't notice the pedal assist when it is working.
Right.
Why would I notice it when it's off? You know, the only thing I noticed is I'm not going any faster.
On the Bafang 750 watt system here, we do have this set up. Currently, there is no speed limit applied, and we can apply that. We have had customers come to us and say, you know, I want this to max out at 20, so we hit that 20 limit, and then the assist stop. Right now, if I just go all out, the 750 watt system on this particular trike will get me going probably about 28 miles an hour.
Yeah?
Yeah, we talked about kind of matching that assist level there. So if I wanted to, I could dance around my levels to get that kind of assist.
Right.
If I push this back down into like level 1. Okay, level 1 here, the motor is not helping me nearly as much. My pedaling effort is much higher now to keep up with you. I can feather this throttle though, just a little bit. Can really dial in how much assist it's giving me at any given time.
Right.
Just by pushing this throttle a little bit. So I can get exactly the workout that I want to get, and yet I can still ride with the people I want to ride with.
My biggest concern with the Bafang is getting the workout I want to get and not being lazy to push it.
Yeah.
Whereas the Bosch restricts me in a good way, I would say. I have to work. There's no option to cheat. And I say cheat very loosely.
Right. That's really the valid criticism, I think, that some cyclists have between the class 1 and class 2, especially if it's sanctioned rides or if it's on bike paths, that kind of thing. They want to ensure the pedaling effort is coming from the rider.
Right. I mean, it's a primary function and a limiting function in a degree. Right. Some trails, if you were to go full throttle down or too compact, there's too many people walking on the trail. I mean, you'd really be a hazard to some on there.
E-bikes in general tend to get such a bad rap.
Right.
Because fortunately, there aren't too many regulations, you know, across the whole US right now. It's the bad actors that kind of ruin it for everybody else. They go 20 miles an hour even when it's a
public walking trail. Yeah.
Multi-use trail.
Well, that's the, kind of the bonus towards the Bosch being that classification, 1 system. There's not as many restrictions on it as there will be on a class 2, class 3, or even an off-road only.
Well, and frankly, if you're looking for a system that is going to have the least amount of restrictions, it's going to let you ride wherever you want to ride without issue, then going with the class 1 system is the safest bet.
It is a safe option.
In a lot of ways, that class 1 system, the Bosch ActiveLine system here, I think for a particular type of cyclist is the winner.
Right.
Because it is the safest option to be able to ride on multi-use bike paths.
Right.
To ride in most areas without any issues. It also is the system that will guarantee the most amount of exercise and work.
Right.
It also has the best torque sensor pedaling. It just feels natural. Given all of that, the Bafang system here, at least in our shop, outsells the Bosch system by a huge factor. 50 to 1, maybe?
The gap is pretty wide, and that, is for a couple reasons we already talked about. It puts out more power, has the throttle. Biggest thing though, cost.
That price is a big thing. I know there's a lot of people out there, they'll piece together a system on Amazon for the Bafang system. Our system that we made comes with all the parts and all the mounts for specific trikes.
Right.
And the biggest thing is we've spent, a lot of time, effort, and money in creating a very good certified battery that, is safe to operate.
Our Bafangs are tested and proven.
Yeah.
Been using them forever. And we're using them across multiple builds.
And the nice thing is, as far as a retrofit system, if you have a trike with a standard bottom bracket, then you can mount a Bafang on there.
Right.
And we make various torque arms that fit on different setups. The Bosch system there does require its own custom boom.
Custom boom, custom cradle to fit that motor in.
Which right there affects the cost. And that's one thing we haven't mentioned yet. And a lot of times with videos like this, all we can really tell you is this is what it costs now.
Right, and I guess that's the preface. As of recording this.
Yeah, as of recording this, you know, this Bafang system here runs about $2,100,
right.
and you know, upgrade on a new trike between $1,800 and $1,900. Whereas the Bosch system,
it comes to about $3,600 to $3,800 if you're putting it on a trike that it isn't OEM on.
Right. So,
which, you know, about $1,600, $1,800 difference. That's pretty significant.
That is.
I mean, for the price of a Bosch, you can almost get two Bafang 750 watts.
Right, and especially considering that our Bafang system already comes with the battery.
Right.
That's twice the capacity.
Right, that's not even get started. Bosch does start with a 400.
Their 800 watt hour batteries is an additional $1,100.
Additional 1,100.
So, you know, you are paying a lot for that Bosch quality, for that Bosch system. And
you pay for the torque sensing, natural feeling of a motor, of this specific motor, I should say. They're not all equal.
Well, hey, I think now's a good time to flip around again.
Yeah, I'm starting to miss that Bafang. Yeah. I do love this Bosch though.
All right, guys. Well, I'm giving up the throttle and going back to the Bosch.
I'm not throwing a fit because I'm switching these trikes, you know? Both of them do feel great.
I'm back on the Bosch, and I'll tell you, you know, it's, if natural feeling pedal power is your thing, the Bosch is unbeatable as far as I'm concerned.
It absolutely is. I hopped on this at a level 5. I put a little pressure into it and it was gone.
Yeah, and as much as, you know, the Bafang does the job, I felt like I got the same pedaling effort out of the Bafang, kind of dancing around it a little bit.
Right,
then,
right. I do feel like I'm already touching this display way more than I was on the Bosch.
Well, and what I found is, ultimately, what I was liking was leaving it in level 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And then just kind of goosing the throttle
just to keep up on a hill. That's the nice part about this throttle. It is pressure sensitive, like you said. We're on this hill, I'm watching you struggle. I'm doing about half pressure on this throttle, not pedaling, keeping up right next to you.
Right. I find here with this pedal sensor is just so natural. So natural.
You couldn't put me on this trike and tell me there wasn't a motor. I know it's there. I feel it.
We haven't really talked yet about, you know, the specific trikes that we're on.
Right.
We are using the Bosch eCat system. So obviously it's a Catrike, because anytime we do a comparison like this, I want to make sure that we've got two trikes that are the same.
Right. Well, we're focusing on motors here.
Yeah, the same trike, the same gearing.
Same comfort.
Yeah.
In this case, same suspension.
Yeah, what I don't want is to pick up on some other aspect of the trike.
Right.
Where you go, well, this trike had better gearing, so I like it better. So today we're on the new Catrike all-road. Is a full suspension trike. It's got the front elastomer-based suspension and the rear RockShox air shock suspension. Today we haven't really been taking these off-road at all.
No.
But
you know, there is something coming up ahead though we had gone over.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, I'm glad we're on the all-road and have this full suspension. You know, you can see the cattle guard coming up ahead.
Yeah, that is nice, where we've got a couple trikes here that are just really fun to ride. They're really smooth. We have been going up and down hills today, but we haven't been doing a lot of climbing.
No.
And the motors have really been leveling that climbing out.
We haven't been doing a lot of climbing for motorized trikes.
Yeah.
If I wasn't motorized, I'd be huffing and puffing this whole time.
You'd be feeling it a little bit more, especially, you know, 18-mile-an-hour speed that we've been hovering around.
We would have gone half the distance we've been going now.
Yeah, you know, that's one of the nicest things about having a motor. It lets you ride with other people more confidently. It lets you cover more ground than you would be able to otherwise. It lets you climb hills that maybe otherwise you wouldn't be able to climb. You know, we get a lot of customers come to us and they go, hey, I want to cycle. Or maybe I used to cycle a lot,
Yep.
but I have a medical condition.
X or Y reason, they've quit cycling on a two-wheel bike.
Yeah. Hey, here's these cattle
Here it
dogs
is,
you were
man.
talking about.
Here it is.
So let's see if we get some suspension here. You know, that's pretty smooth. Well, you know, we started out this ride. I thought it seems kind of chilly, and I'm gonna take my jacket off. I'm definitely a little colder than I'd like to be. This system here, this Bosch system, really is letting me put in the effort that I want to put in.
I feel
it's keeping my blood warm.
I feel a little colder on the Bafang, is what you're saying. No, you took your jacket and gloves off. That's what I'm missing.
To sum it all up, Brayden, what are the key takeaways regarding these two systems here?
The easiest way is kind of do a pro and cons for each. Pro for the Bafang, I've got double and some power than the Bosch. I've got that throttle I can rely on. I've got the big battery to keep me going. In some regards, it's half the cost.
Right.
You know, for a lot of people, that's all they need. Whereas the Bosch really feels like a system for cyclists.
If you're a pedal power guy and you like cycling and you don't want the temptation of the throttle, the Bosch system is going to give you the best feeling of pedal power assist that I've tried. Get you going at a comfortable speed and maintaining that speed. The main cons I feel of the Bosch system are, because it is more proprietary, it's not as flexible to move from one trike or bike to another.
Right. And we haven't touched upon that, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people will get into cycling with a cheap Recumbent trike, which, you know, for a lot of cases makes sense. I don't cycle very often. I'm gonna see if I can get into this. I don't want to spend premium money on a premium trike, right?
Right.
And I'll get the cheap motor system to pair it with.
We've had people that they start off with the cheapest trike we have, the Sunseeker EcoTad.
Right.
And they will put the Bafang 750 watt system on there. And then a year or two later, they go, you know what? I decided triking really is for me. I want to upgrade to a much better, more substantial trike.
Right.
And they want their motor just switched over.
Right. Well, who wants to spend that price twice?
Right. Now, you know, to some degree, you can do that with a Bosch, but it's much more complicated because, you know, you'll have to have a custom boom made.
Have the cradle boom, and you have to reprogram the motor system.
Right. You know, I think that's one of the aspects there, that non-proprietary setup. You know, not only does it make it a little more flexible as far as moving it from one trike to another, but also down the road when you need a new battery or you want to add a second battery, it's much easier to do. You know, on the Bosch systems here, you know, we've ran into this recently where Catrike changed from the Gen 2 to the Gen 3.
Right.
The Gen 2, you had the option of adding a second battery, but let's say that you had a Gen 2 system and you had already invested in a lot of batteries. If you now have a Gen 3 system, those batteries don't work.
Yep. They don't work.
And that's always been one of my issues with any proprietary system.
Right.
You know, we've seen that with some manufacturers that chose a particular system and then those companies aren't even around anymore. Now, I don't think Bosch is going anywhere.
No.
And I think that they're the best bet in terms of cycling pedal assist. You know, but again, when people are spending $1,100 on a battery, and then you buy a new system and you can't use it, that's a little frustrating.
Oh yeah.
Where the nice thing about the Bafang systems, and while we do, you know, recommend using our battery because we know it and trust it, it's not proprietary.
No. I gotta say how excited I was to take these out, the all-road and these motor systems, and how much fun I'm having on both of them.
Right. So now, guys, we're on this hill in the middle of the mountain, Christine Road, and we got to see how fast that Bafang can go and if I can keep up with it in turbo mode. Let's go. All right, guys, I'm in turbo mode and I'm using my gears.
Dude, I ain't even working for this.
I'm working.
I can hear
I'm
it.
Okay guys, so you got a big hill and you don't want to pedal. Having a throttle must be nice. Woo.
Hey, I ain't switching you to do this.
Okay. Well,
I think undoubtedly we have a king here.
yeah. Okay, well, I think it's time to do one last switcheroo.
Yeah? Guys, this was a serious hill. You know, even with all that power on the Bafang, I could feel it lugging.
Yeah.
Lugging at 10 miles per hour.
You
I
weren't
should
shifting
say.
though either.
Yeah. I also didn't shift, if that makes you feel any better.
I think one thing to note here, you know, as we were pedaling up the hill, I was definitely using my gearing.
Yeah.
You were in the high gear
Yep.
the whole time.
You know, that's funny you say that. I didn't even feel like I had to shift. Not even once.
Well, okay guys, if you find a nice hill like this, you gotta go down. Look at that.
Start slowing down. Look at that speed demon up there. A lot of faith in these brakes.
Woo. Okay, well, 34 miles an hour. Okay, so I see the secret now here, guys. Brayden was in level 9. So
At least going up the hill.
So level 9 here, I don't even have to pedal barely.
Huh?
Here it is, guys.
We're trying.
So if you look here, I have no throttle. I'm not using the throttle at all. When I start spinning in level 9,
I can see you slip away.
Yeah, that sensor just kicks on. You know,
We're so lucky to be out
flying
here,
without
guys.
any effort. So we got to make it a little fair.
Not only are you slipping away from me, I'm hitting that 20, 21 miles per hour.
You know, here's kind of my feeling here is that as we're pedaling and I'm on the Bafang system, what I'm really finding is that the assist levels 1, 2, and 3 are pretty much even with what the Bosch is giving me in the Eco Sport and Turbo modes.
Right now, we're both I'm on Turbo right now.
Yeah, and I'm in level 3, and that's, you know, and that's kind of the thing is when I'm in level 3 here, it feels about the same as what you're getting in that Turbo mode.
But we can both see each other's legs move. We know we're working the same.
But then I have 6 more levels of assist.
You have more levels to go.
You know, I've got 6 whole levels here. I can just go as fast as I want to go.
I'm glad we were doing this on the new all roads. I couldn't be happier to be on these trikes.
All right, guys, we're back from our ride. That was absolutely fantastic. I think we summed it up pretty well.
Right. Beautiful ride, beautiful trikes, both beautiful motor systems.
Yeah. There's really some pluses and minuses to both. I think that if your main priority is a throttle, then that decision's already made. You want the Bafang system. If you are interested in a system that will go faster than 20 miles an hour, then the Bafang system.
Right.
If you're interested in a system that feels the most natural and is really geared more for a cyclist, then I think it's the Bosch system.
I couldn't agree more with you. And just to throw one more in, if you're looking for a system to get you over that one pesky hill, that Bafang handled it like a champ.
Yeah, if you're gonna go out and you're gonna ride with other cyclists and they have different levels of riding capabilities that maybe you're not comfortable with, either one of these motor systems will help you handle staying with the group. If you're riding by yourself, but you have a lot of hills, either one of these systems will handle that. I think if you have a lot of hills, you may be spending a lot more time in the turbo mode on the Bosch. Both of these systems are fantastic. Today, we did get a ride, 2 fantastic trikes, the Catrike all-road. Once again,
outstanding trike.
Outstanding.
I was impressed with it when it came out. Every time I've ridden it, it has been a pleasant and fun time.
Right.
I have no complaints about the all-road.
Okay, guys. Well, if you have any questions about the Bosch eCat system or any of the Bosch systems or the Bafang 750 watt or the 1000 watt or the Ultra or any of the other motor systems that we carry, please let us know. And if you have any questions about any of the trikes, Catrike, Azov, Sunseeker, Stein Trikes, Trike, Green Speed, any of the other trikes that we carry, visit us at utahtrikes.com or come into our showroom in Springville.
Oh yeah, we'd be happy to spend some time with you, discuss trikes, discuss motors. Let's get everyone out there and riding.
Okay guys, and don't forget, relax, spin fast, and ride trikes.
See you everybody.
See ya.